The Witcher 4 is officially revealed, and the trailer shows us a badass new look for our new protagonist, who is none other than Ciri. I spotted some interesting details, and IGN was able to interview CDPR for even more info, so let's go over everything. So The Witcher 4 will be the first in a new saga of games starring Ciri as the protagonist, and as expected, it will be an open-world single-player RPG. We've learned from internal studio reports that this saga will consist of a trilogy of games that should release over the course of 6 years. While this report is from a while back, so plans might have changed in the meantime, I do love that CDPR is planning not to let us wait too long for a sequel once this next game in the Witcher series is out. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's start by talking about our new protagonist, as even though Ciri was heavily featured and even playable in Witcher 3, a ton has changed between the end of that one and the new 4th entry. For starters, Ciri has undergone the trial of the grasses and has become a full-fledged Witcher, meaning her body has mutated and adapted to drinking substances that would be deadly for normal humans. And that's not speculation, by the way, the developers actually confirmed this to IGN in an interview. So now she can drink potions and concoctions like a true Witcher, which we see her doing later in the trailer. An interesting detail here though is that after using the potion, Ciri's eyes change color, which is not something that's typically associated with drinking Witcher potions. Could be that's the case because this specific potion enhances your vision, but it could also be a side effect of Ciri's own magical powers. In case you don't know, Ciri is a very important character in the Witcher universe, and the short reason for why is that she has extremely rare magical powers in her blood. Magic in general is something that's quite rare in the world of the Witcher, except for the simplified spells called signs that most Witchers use. And we can see Ciri using one of those in the trailer as well, but much more interesting, we can also see her cast something that's definitely not a sign a bit later. Here, she draws magical energy from her surroundings to fire a blast of electricity, and I'm pretty sure her setting her grappling chain on fire in this other shot is Ciri using regular magic too. But yeah, being a spellcaster, one that has received training from Yennefer of Vengerberg no less, is a pretty big deal, and that's on top of everything that comes with being a Witcher. So while the trailer showed no direct gameplay, this information has me extremely hyped because it's making Ciri sound like an absolute powerhouse of a character. Her physicality is enhanced on account of being a Witcher, and then you also have access to magical spells and powers completely your own because of your special blood. I want to quickly double back on Ciri being a Witcher though, as there's another interesting thing going on here, specifically with her Witcher medallion. In case you don't know, Witchers work in different schools with an animal amulet around their neck to depict the school they trained at. Geralt was famously a member of the School of the Wolf, so I thought Ciri would show up here with a wolf amulet too. But instead, we can clearly see that this is depicting a cat-like predator, presumably a lynx. And the School of the Lynx was teased earlier when The Witcher 4 was first revealed as a project, actually with this teaser image. A teaser image containing a Witcher amulet that CDPR's community director confirmed to be depicting a lynx, and we can now see the exact same amulet hanging around Ciri's neck. Now here's the real kicker, we don't have any information on a School of the Lynx in the Witcher universe. It could be a branch of the School of the Cat, but I think there's more going on here. You see, in the third Witcher game, Vesemir mentions that the Trial of the Grasses has not been performed for a very long time, but somehow Ciri received the treatment after the events of that game. So I'm leaning more towards this being a new school, maybe even one created by Ciri, as she was of course fully trained as a Witcher even before undergoing her mutations. But regardless of what school ended up giving her the trial, Ciri is now a Witcher on the path, hunting monsters for money. Or at least, that's the way most contracts start, but anyone who's played the previous titles knows that's rarely how they play out. In fact, the trailer itself shows Ciri hunting down this dangerous creature known as a bog. However, the nearby villagers are revering this bog as a god and are planning to sacrifice a young girl to it in order to protect their town. Ciri kills the creature, but this does not save the girl, as the villagers still believe a sacrifice is necessary to protect the town, so they took matters into their own hands and killed the woman themselves. Ciri's response here is understandably pretty pissed, and in general the developers are hinting that she's a much more emotional character than Geralt, which is not putting the bar very high, as it's also constantly mentioned that Witcher mutations are suspected to suppress emotion. But still, Ciri's a very different Witcher than Geralt, as she does not feel a desire to remember remain neutral or impartial like our White Wolf sometimes did. And since she's younger and less experienced, she's still discovering her identity as a monster hunter for hire. So what that means for the game, according to the devs, is that players will have more freedom to define Ciri's character in a way they couldn't with Geralt. So to me, that sounds like a wider variety of role-playing options, some of which will help us push Ciri's personality in a certain direction. And I'm not expecting Baldur's Gate or Fallout New Vegas levels of freedom of choice, but considering how impactful some story choices were to the world of The Witcher 3, having more freedom to define our own player character sounds really exciting. And by the way, if you enjoyed the video so far, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to not miss any Witcher 4 news. Now, the mention of defining Ciri as a character does make me wonder if and how choices made in the prior Witcher games will influence this one, although your choice of ending does not seem to impact the story of this next entry. CDPR reassured everyone by saying that The Witcher 4 will not break any canon established by Witcher 3, regardless of what ending outcome you got. So that means that Ciri might have even survived that ending, with the devs also stating that there are hints in that ending that highlight the fact that she probably does not die. So, you know, that's nice to learn almost 10 years later. Another thing that links back to the various endings of Witcher 3 is Ciri's blade Sirael, which was a gift from Geralt. The model definitely looks different to the one Geralt gave her, but this is again information that was confirmed by the devs in that IGN interview. The blacksmith who made it calls it the best weapon a Witcher has ever had, so that's yet another thing Ciri's got going for her. And next to her silver sword, she of course also wields a steel one to deal with more regular threats like bandits, soldiers, and wild animals. Now, I do hope the gameplay surrounding your two swords is changed up a bit, as in Witcher 3 you basically select the correct sword at the start of combat and then you're set for that encounter. Mixing up magical creatures and human enemies, for example, might have you changing swords mid-combat as you switch to deal with a bandit instead of a ghost, for example. And I have high hopes for the gameplay in general, because this trailer is showing a ton of things that can spice up the familiar combat. That is of course if that's what they're sticking with, as this new saga can of course completely overhaul the combat system too. But let's assume Ciri has the same basic powers as Geralt, so two swords with heavy and light combos, magical signs for utility, and then a ton of potions, concoctions, and other alchemical creations like bombs for self-defense. I'm also really hoping that hook she uses against the bog is a tool we'll be able to use as well, as a grappling hook in a melee combat game has been one of my favorite features since Devil May Cry 5 introduced it. Being able to light it on fire would be the cherry on top, and in general, I'm expecting Ciri's magical powers to be a huge factor in gameplay, as that's definitely a feature that sets her apart as a character. Now, the Witcher universe has got a pretty expansive world, and while we don't know the exact location, we did get some hints as to where Ciri's adventure is going to take place. The devs mentioned to IGN that the village we see in the trailer is in the far north of the world, and that will be exploring new lands and new regions in the world. The fact they're mentioning regions, plural here, might mean we see a return to the map design of Witcher 3, with distinct regions like Novigrad and Skellige that offer very different feeling exploration and quests. And these regions are of course going to look awesome, as the whole game is being developed on Unreal Engine 5, which should help the team avoid the pitfalls of launching with their own in-house engine, like what happened with Cyberpunk's Red Engine. If you want an example of a recent action game running on UE5, look no further than Action Game of the Year winner Black Myth Wukong. So I have high hopes CDPR can pull off a smooth running and beautiful looking action game. And while Witcher 4 has been in development for quite some time, it has only entered full production pretty recently. I'm definitely not expecting a 2025 release. Summer 2026 is my earliest guess, although 2027 seems the more realistic option here. But yeah, that's all I've been able to discover so far. Let me know if you found anything that I missed in the comments. Subscribe to not miss our next video, leave a like if you enjoyed this one, and if you want, you can watch our previous video going over my thoughts on Indiana Jones after finishing the game by clicking on the screen. I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.